it should have been a blowout for the Aussie Boomers, who were leading Gilas by as much as 31 points in the third quarter.
Midway through that time frame, the game turned into a brawl. Here's the report.
Gilas, Pilipinas, and Israel Boomers were fighting for the top seed in Group B of the FIBA Asian qualifiers. But the winner-take-all match turned into a free-for-all melee. The exchange of baskets became an exchange of blows. Swinging elbows, flying kicks, and even haymakers. Who would have thought that you were watching a basketball game?
Well, it's unfortunate. We didn't want to end. We didn't want that to happen. It's absolutely unacceptable.
The brawl can be traced back to this play. R.R. Pugoy at the top of the key drove against Christopher Golding before passing the ball. But right after the play, Pugoy somehow charged into Golding, taking down the Aussie guard. Boomers big man Daniel Kickert saw the action and immediately decked Pugoy. This is where all hell broke loose. But Gilas head coach Chot Reyes explained that even before Pugoy barreled into Golding, the Aussies have been rough, particularly Kickert.
But the reality is Kickert was hitting our players during the warm-ups at layup line. He hit Carl Brian Cruz, he hit Matthew Wright, he hit Pugoy, and he hit Calvin Abueva during the warm-ups. Nakakita na ba kayo nung tinira yung kalaban sa warm-up, sa layup line? Round robin, hindi pa nag-uumpisa. Pinagtitira na tayo. What do you expect us to do?
Reyes said the coaching staff tried to keep their players focused on the game instead.
When Kickert did all of those things at the start, that during the warm-up line, we already told them, huwag nyo nang pansinin. Focus on the game. But, after that, when he did that again in the third quarter, it's hard to restrain them anymore.
Coach Chot Reyes and the rest of Gilas are aware that the brawl could be one of the worst in sports history. However, they insist they're not the only ones at fault here.
I understand the disappointment. I understand some are embarrassed. But again, you don't know what happened. You have to be in the team within our circle to really understand what went down.
Skip Makadagdag, we are One News.
A total of 13 players were ejected after the melee, 3 from Australia and 9 from the Philippines. Only Junmar Fajardo, Gabe Norwood, and Baser Amer were left to play for Gilas. Needless to say, the Aussies won that game 89-53 via default. FIBA, the world governing body for basketball, will launch disciplinary proceedings against both Gilas and the Boomers. The decision or decisions will be handed down in the coming days. Australia now tops Group B with a 5-1 record, while the Philippines falls to number 2, holding a 4-win and 2-loss card. The Australian national team has since apologized to their supporters for the brawl. Basketball Australia Secretary General Anthony Moore issued a statement saying the Boomers regret the incident. Moore said the team is prepared to face the penalties that will be handed down. Earlier, Moore had also apologized on behalf of the team for removing court decals at the Philippine Arena. And former Gilas stalwart Jimmy Alapag and PBA player Chris Ross have one thing to say about the whole fiasco. It's embarrassing. Their comments, though, did not sit well with current Gilas guard Terrence Romeo. Romeo says he doesn't care about basketball players who described him and his teammates as embarrassing. Romeo even told them to apply for Australian citizenship instead. The unapologetic guard says he will defend Gilas up to the very bitter end. SMB's Christian Stan Hardinger also took up the cudgels for the national team and tweeted, "If you attack one of us, you attack all of us." That was a cheap shot against Pugoy. Ginebra's Joe Devance believes that the referees could have controlled or averted the brawl. ESPN5's managing editor Sid Ventura shares a tidbit of basketball history over the fracas. He said, "This is the worst brawl involving the Philippine national basketball team I've seen since 1987, when the RP team got into a free-for-all with a visiting American team at the Rizal Coliseum. It started when a U.S. player elbowed Benji Paras in the neck, and that game was not finished."